Welcome to the Dating After Divorce podcast. I'm your host, Shade Curry, and I believe every divorced woman deserves a romantic relationship where she feels safe, loved, and cherished. You can create the most amazing life after divorce, and I will teach you how. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Dating After Divorce podcast. Okay, y'all are in for a treat today. I have my sister, friend, coach, colleague, Brig Johnson here on the podcast for you. And she has an inspiring, uplifting coaching story for you today. Brig is, she's a life coach. She helps high achieving women become unfuckwithable. We're going to talk about what that means. Brig comes from a background as an advanced practice healthcare provider, and she has built a successful, multiple six-figure life coaching business, not just six figures. Her brash, direct style helps clients see themselves with clarity. Her compassion keeps them coming back. And Brig's business motto is better business through sufficiency. Because the more we accept and connect with ourselves, the better we connect with our clients and customers and their dreams. Brig, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
I know.
I don't think I've been this excited to be on podcasts, and I don't know how long. I think it's because, first of all, it's you, and I've been knowing you for so long and totally feel like you're a sister. And second, I get to talk about something that I don't normally talk about. So good. Yeah, we're going to glean my brain for a story. I know there's probably things in here that I'm going to be like, oh, and I forgot about this.
Yes. And I didn't want to hear any of it before. And I have been waiting to hear this story because I think I knew you were divorced and single. We've joked around about dating in the past, but I always knew there was a divorce story in there and that it was going to be amazing. So we're here to hear it. So where do we start? Do we start with the marriage? Do you want to start when the divorce started? Where do we begin?
Let's start with the marriage. Let's start getting married.
How old were you when you got married?
22. I got engaged at 2020 and got married at 22. And the only reason why I got married at 22 is because my dad was he would not give his approval until we waited a year. So I got engaged, I met him at 19. I think we got it right at the end of 19. So it was really, really more like 20. My birthday's in December, and we met in October or September. So my dad was no. He was he did not here. Neither of my parents were, he was a nice guy, but neither of my parents were this is the guy for you. It wasn't that he wasn't a good guy. They just knew what I didn't know then, that I was going to grow in a way that probably wasn't going to create camaraderie or companionship. So we waited a year. So I got married 2 days after my 22nd birthday.
Yeah. I mean, and that's so true of that age, is that we're adults. I got married at 21. We're adults. Mm-hmm. We're fully formed. We have these things, but we don't realize just how much growth is ahead of us.
Yeah. My mom just kept telling me, you're going to change. You're going to change. You're going to change. And I was like, no, I'm not, Mom. And if you knew me then and you know me now, I can tell you that even my kids that my husband then, we have a great relationship now. He is remarried. I think he's on his third marriage. I was his first. And we're friends. Everybody's fine. We attend things together. I go to their house. They go to my house. When he was sick, I was rushing to the hospital with his wife. So we have a great relationship, but that was 25 years in the making, right? But even my kids we don't see, because my kids don't even remember us being together because they were 4, 3, and 2 when I got divorced.
Gotcha.
My kids don't even see it. My youngest daughter is how did y'all two happen? They really are I don't understand. They love us each separately. But they're we don't get how y'all got together because mom, you are so different. And I think that was the thing is like, I was completely a different person.
Yeah. Yeah. How long were you married?
We were married 13 years. So it wasn't even like, yeah, we waited 7 years to have kids. I didn't have kids, even though I got married early. I didn't start having kids till I was 28, and I had my last one like when I was 33. So yeah, we were married 13 years. And so yeah, when my youngest was 2, it was like once I got pregnant with the third one is when things just kind of like just started going downhill as far as I don't even think it was downhill. It was just awareness was starting to come in from me of I think the whole marriage, I kept trying to be a version of me that he wanted. He wanted somebody that was very calm and not spontaneous and wasn't loud and very demure and submissive and like that didn't mind getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and doing our quiet time together before I went to work. And I wanted to sleep in because I go to work at 6 o'clock on days that I work. I didn't want to get up early on my days that I didn't like, and just, there was just a lot of, and I had a rebel inside of me that I had a governor on it. I was doing it so that I could be this version that I knew he wanted me to be. Yeah. It wasn't that he was asking, but I was asking that of me. Yeah. I wasn't saying no. I was saying, let me try. Maybe he's right. Like I should be this, like that is the way I should be. I should be more disciplined. I should plan things out. I shouldn't be spontaneous. Like I lived a life where my natural tendencies were all wrong. And at some point, I just started going, but this is just the way I fucking am. Can I cuss? I'm sorry.
Yes, okay. Go ahead.
Like I just, at some point, like you put the governor as like, I keep trying, but I keep coming back to this is really how I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And it was just a slow revelation of I kept trying to make myself wrong, trying to make myself more quiet and more submissive. And the more I tried, the more she would just come through. And I just, they say till death do us part. And I remember hearing Ayana Van Zant say in one of her Ayana Saved My Lives. There was one time, there's one that I do remember, and this is the one where she was like, they say till death do us part, but it's like death of what? Because the relationship was already dead. And in order for the relationship to do what it needed to do, I needed to die. And I just wasn't willing to die. Not die physically, but die as a version of me. Like I kept trying to kill her.
Yeah, you were trying to kill the real version, the real you. But like that was spontaneous and loud. Like if you died, everything would be fine.
Right. If you just change, be who I need you to be, we're gonna be fine. And I kept going, okay, I'm really gonna try. I know I should be more disciplined. I'm really going to try. What's so funny about it now is I'm the biggest rebel there is right now. And I am so disciplined.
Amazing.
I get I'm spontaneous and disciplined. Like I did find it, but I found it my way without making myself wrong. Yeah. So I was the one who initiated the divorce. I literally saw me asking for the divorce as a gift to him. Like I really did. It was like, it wasn't even like, I done tried. I am not what you want. Like, I am not that chick and I can't be her. And that was so freeing for me. I really saw it as a gift of love.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure that's played out. If he's remarried and he's happy.
Oh, yeah. He's very happy.
Yeah. Like imagine another 25 years.
They are the cutest couple and I love them. Like, yes.
Yeah. Versus 25 years of the ongoing struggle.
Yeah. It was just, I tried to reinvent myself into a cookie cutter version so many times that, and I think that's where my growth, when you talk about like my growth as a coach and my growth as a woman who empowers high achieving Black women, I was trying to put a governor on that high achieving part of me. I was trying not to, like, you're doing too much. Like, who do you think you are? You're too loud. Like that rebel part of me that was like, no, I have ideas and dreams too. And I want to put them out in the world. I didn't want to put myself out in the world under his umbrella. I wanted to have my umbrella and yours too.
Yeah, because now were you in a community where under his umbrella was the acceptable way to have an impact and do things?
Right. Yeah. It was like helping him with his business and I was the woman behind it. And I didn't mind being the woman behind his business. I just wanted my own too. Like I had no qualm about helping and supporting. I just wanted my own identity too, which meant I wanted my own thing as well.
Yeah. And it's interesting how, like, when you mention all of those things that you're like, you know, I didn't want to be, but that's what is in many cultures globally, that's what's acceptable. Even in cultures where overtly we say, oh, yes, women can go out and have an impact. Covertly, a woman stepping out and having an impact and doing things and being loud and making noise doesn't elicit a lot of approval.
Right. Yeah. It's the unspoken word of you cannot outshine your husband, like, or like, unless he's like, okay with it or like whatever. And there was just so many things that I was sequestering about me. There were so many pieces of me that I was hiding from myself, not acknowledging. And at some point I was like, I just can't do it anymore. Like, I was like, if I'm a bad girl, a bad wife, fuck it. That's just what I am. Like, that's how much I had tried. Like, if this makes me bad, if I was willing to just be bad, I was like, y'all just come talk about me. We were part of a very large church and we were actually over like the marriage enrichment, like did announcements for it and everything. Yes. Like we were over the we would do the announcements and we were like that couple who would like talk about it and like come to the marriage and retreat and such and then get in the car and look out the window and never talk, right? Like we were that couple. So we would have people over to the house for Bible study and then the door closes and we would never say another word to each other. And I was just like, no, I tried to conform and there was no way. And so I love that I did that. Now, when I did it, I didn't. And my friends and my mother and everybody would tell you I did it wrong because they would say I stayed way too long because it got rough. Like it really, like if you're trying to change and that person is used to you a certain way, you can imagine the friction that happens when you start saying, yes, I'm going to change and how they react. So it kind of dangerous every once in a while. Like, no, I need to go. So, and a lot of my friends would say you stayed too long. And I would say, no, I didn't. Because when I left, I knew who I was who I was supposed to be. Because I literally tried to kill the girl. She wouldn't die. She's like, Brig Johnson. Brig is here to stay. And that's another thing. That's my married name. Brig Johnson is my married name. And I didn't feel the need to go back to Harris because my kid's name was Johnson. And I didn't want to go, I'm Brig Harris and Jarrett Johnson, Bria Johnson and Brig Johnson. I was like, I'm Brig Johnson. And they knew who my kids were. Like, I was like, no. And like, I was like, yeah, like, I was like, no, you didn't give me your name. I made something out of this name and I kept it. I was like, this is who I am.
Yeah. You got to define.
Yes.
Who you were every way.
I did. I defined everything.
Like, I'm going to choose the name that goes with it. All of it.
Yes. So, so I really did see it as an act of love and freedom. I knew because of his religious background and everything that he would never ask for the divorce because it was not something that was like even encouraged even a little bit. And I knew that I would get lambasted because I was a member of the church too. I was willing for everybody to talk about me. And they did. The stories and the rumors that came out, I was like, oh, y'all think I'm like, really? That's what y'all think I'm doing?
Yeah. Have you always had that ability for people to be wrong about you? Or did you develop?
I developed that then. Like it took me, like one of the reasons why it was such a struggle for me to ask for the divorce is because like that's not what good girls do. And that's why I kept trying to reinvent myself to be that, because I was trying to be what other people was telling me I should. Like I would go to counseling, or I would have other female like ask them to mentor me, and they would like, Brig, well, you should like be quiet and let him lead. And I was trying. I tried everything. So yes.
I just cannot even, as you're talking, the good girl and the mentoring and all, because I experienced, I can't even imagine you.
Yes.
In that.
I was like, please help me. I literally thought something was wrong with me. Like I was like such a sinful person. Like something is really, really wrong with me. And so, yes, I was definitely people influenced and people pleasing. And like, I was trying to please my husband and don't let him not talk to me. I was like, what's wrong? Like I was the epitome of like, I did something wrong. Like every time he came home, when I heard the garage go up, my stomach would and I would look around the house. What didn't I do? Oh my God, I didn't use my time wisely. I have to show how efficient I have been.
Do you wonder exactly how divorced women just like you are meeting eligible men who want a real relationship and a commitment? They're doing it by dating with their core values. Your core values are the GPS that lead you to the partner you've been looking for. When you use your core values on dating apps, text messages, and at social events, you will easily connect with your true match partner without chasing, settling, or wasting time with non-committal men. I have taught exactly how to do this in the 2-hour Core Values Dating Blueprint course available on my website, shadecurry.com/dating. That's SADECURRY.com/dating. You will learn exactly how to identify your core values and use them on your dating profile, how to ask the right questions via text, and how to tell the right stories on dates, so that you attract the right people and repel those who aren't right for you. If you're ready to meet your true match, hop over to shadecurry.com/dating or click the link in the show notes. Now back to the episode.
Right.
On my off day.
Yeah, on your off day.
On my off day. That's how I was, y'all. So when I like coach people about empowerment and about like all of the programming, I'm doing it because I had to deprogram myself. And like I lived that transformation.
Wow.
Totally. Yeah.
I mean, and when you say transformation, like for those of you who don't know Brigg, so you're hearing the story and you're not going to have the same disbelief that I'm experiencing because I met this version of Brigg. Yes. And there's nothing demure or second guessing or people pleasing about you in any way.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
So, I think I asked my mom, I was like, Mom, I think I'm going to get a divorce. And my mom was like, no, do not. She's like, wait till the kids grow up so you can go back to school. And then, because she was like, it's hard, it's so hard out there. But she was telling me her story and her trauma, right? Because she did leave with young kids. And her opportunities were like, she couldn't call into work. So you know how it was when your mom couldn't come into work, call into work. When you were sick, you got a bucket and a gallon of 7-Up.
Yep.
Ginger ale and a bottle of NyQuil.
Yep.
And she put the TV into your room on a TV tray if you were good.
100%.
Right?
I totally except for the NyQuil part. Ours was like malaria, chloroquine.
Yes.
For
Yeah.
malaria, but exactly the same thing is what because I grew up with a single mom part of the time as well.
Yes. Yeah. So I knew she was telling me her story and she was like, no, baby, no. And I was like, no, mom. She was like, wait till you go to school, because here's the deal. At that time, I was an RN and I had dreams of going to medical school, but somehow in there, I chickened out and stopped believing in myself. So then I switched and said, I'm just going to, because I was an LVN then. And then I switched from pre-med to right when it was time for me to take the MCAT. I never even took the MCAT. Y'all, I was ready. I had my organic, everything. That's how scared of taking that risk and seeing that, and I just bowed out. So when my clients are doing that, I know exactly what they're doing because I've done it, right? Like I've done it when you get to that point where it's like scary and it's like decision time and you self-sabotage. And so I was like, no, I think I'm just going to be an RN and have babies. So I got my associate degree. And while we were married, we were still married. And while we were married, I found out that you could be an RN and go to anesthesia school. And I was like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
But my husband at the time said, no. He was like, all you do is start and stop things. And you're going to go in debt. We're going to go in debt and you're not going to finish it. And we're going to have all this debt. And I was like, and that was my story. So I believed it because that was my past. So when my clients are coming to me, telling me their past and how they showed up, I'm like, that has nothing to do with what you can do.
Yeah.
And the reason why I can say that is because I've lived that.
Yeah. It's interesting when you talk about the start and stop, because I have seen this with like my clients who've been divorced. Like, is there something, this is my theory, is that you're not starting and stopping in isolation. It's not an isolated situation, because that's a narrative about women. You start and stop, you're impulsive, you don't finish things.
Right, exactly.
But what else is happening?
Yes, right.
The babies are coming.
Yeah.
The apportioning of household duties.
Right.
Yeah. The mental load.
Yes.
This is it really that women can't complete things, or is it that there's just too much on our plates?
Exactly. And that's what I talk about with my clients. It's like, we don't have a capability problem. We have a capacity problem.
Yeah.
We don't have the capacity. Like there's so much mental load and all the other stuff that we think we have to take care of. We opt into a world that's telling us to like our value is how people think of us. So we people please and we do all that stuff. So our load is so heavy that we don't have the capacity for our dreams. And then when we go our dreams, and then there's one little obstacle, we quit not because we're not capable, but because we don't have that capacity.
Yeah. 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 So how long, like at what point in the marriage were you wanting to go after that dream?
I think I had already had the kids. I was all excited and like my bubble was just busted. And at that point in that relationship, he did have the final say. That's the way we lived. Like, that's the way I lived. So y'all can imagine like how I am now. And then like, that's why my kids are like, literally my kids don't understand it because he is still the same. Love him to death. He is still the same, right? But I was like, okay.
What else did he have I want to hear all the things. What else did he have the final say on?
How we spent our money? Like I gave him my whole check because he was better at finances, because women are told we're not good with finances. We're emotional, right? So he controlled all of the money. I would give him my check and he would give me this is my spending, whatever I can spend out of it. So, and this was when he was making more money than me. And this was when I started, because he got laid off. And this is when I started making more money and covering the house. It was still the same. I was okay with it. He was better with finances. Fine. You do it. Like I didn't have a qualm with that. But like, it was just, he had the final say on the way the household ran. That was, and I was always like, but I disagree.
Yeah.
Right. And a thought didn't occur to me to just go ahead and go to school anyway. Like, well, forget you. I'm going to school anyway. That thought never occurred to me. He said no. And I was like, I can't go. That's where I was. But so asked for the divorce, got the divorce. 6 months later, I'm like, I'm going to go to anesthesia school. So, I say this because the people at the church were like, she's out there gannivacting and she's dating and she hoeing around and like I was
Wait,
like,
where are you, Brig? Tell us, were you gallivanting?
oh, I was out partying every Sunday. Yes. I had a thing that I did for me. It was my mental health thing. It was swing out. I don't know if they do swing out there. In Chicago, they call it stepping. Like there's stepping, there's swing out. Like I swung out.
Dances, yeah.
That's in the South is like swing out. So I would do swing out every Sunday. I would get there at about 8 and I would leave at 9:30. I would swing out. I would be soaking wet. So yeah, I got cute every week and went out, swung out and came home. That was my mental health thing. So was I going out every weekend? Yeah, I sure was. Yeah.
And why wouldn't you? The question is, why wouldn't you?
Right. Yes. Yes. So I had also during the time that I was contemplating asking for a divorce, I was also deciding to take my life back because I had 3 kids in 4 years. I breastfed them all. So I was like at 220 when I came home from the hospital, or 210 when I came home from the hospital with the second baby. And by the time it was over with, I was like at 220 and I stopped weighing myself after 220. I didn't even want to see it anymore. And so there was one part of me that was like, look, I carried these kids. Now you're going to take care of them while I go take care of my body. So first thing I did was I signed up for a cycling thing because I cycled before I had kids. So I was like, I'm going to compete in a 100-mile ride. I'm going to do a 100-mile ride. So I got on my bike and I went 7 miles and I was wore out. And I was like, oh my God. And then my girlfriend, who I live and we still train, that we just did the El Camino, Camino de Santiago together. We still do athletic stuff. I moved to her neighborhood. We just went shopping together. She came over and she was like, okay, she brought her bike and she was like, okay. So we got in and we rode 12 miles. And those 12 miles, I was like, I'm dying. I know this is mile 30. It wasn't. It wasn't. But like, I continued to train myself. That's when I started getting a little momentum of like, no. I started telling my husband no for the first time. Like, no, yes. I want my body back. I want my health back. It wasn't even about a size body. I thought my fine days were over with. I was a mother. I was like, okay, but I'm going to be healthy. So yes. I started, and then I did that 100-mile race in Texas heat in August. It was called the Hotter Than Hell. I rode that 100 miles. It took me 8 hours. And by that time I was down to like 165. And then I decided to start running. By the time I did that, I started having confidence of like, I started getting out and hanging out with other people and getting other views. And I'm like, oh, there's nothing. Oh, I'm not that crazy. There's nothing wrong with me. There's that little bit of like, oh, I'm okay. And so I started running. And during those runs, there was a lake near me that was a 10-mile loop. And I called that my sanctuary because I would make decisions on those runs. I would think about it. I would I didn't know I was coaching myself, but that's what I was doing. I was coaching myself, self-coaching myself. Well, what's the worst that can happen? And what is going to, and it was really about getting over the fear of what other people were going to think.
Yeah.
Really rationalizing what I think God would do to me if I asked for the divorce. That was really huge for me because my view of God was I was going to get punished. I was being a bad person. Yeah. And I had to come to my own view, and I would be like, but do you do that to your kids?
Yeah.
It was like, it's like, and so that became my escape. And I decided to get the divorce probably 4 months before I told him. And during that 4 months, I spent that time on every run, just coaching myself, being okay with it.
Yeah.
Really because I never wanted to be the one to ask, I didn't think the D word was something you just play with. Now, by this time, my ex was saying it all the time. Well, we should just get a divorce. And I would never say anything because I knew if I said it, I meant it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So I went from 165 to about 132.
Wow.
Because I was unloading all of the emotional, because I was numbing out the bad relationship with Baskin and ramen. I can tell you what I got. I would go to Brahms and get a strawberry sundae with 2 scoops of butter pecan, 1 scoop of strawberries on top, whipped cream and pecan. And I had that on a regular, on top of everything else. And I was just numbing out because I was killing me. So I was just numbing out to keep her down.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love that you just used that, because that's what happens. The real you was inside. She couldn't come out, but she was still alive and kicking. Yes. And you had to shut her up. And it was
I had to anesthetize her. I had to anesthetize her. Right. So when I did that with food. So of course I was 230 pounds. And then when I found another outlet that that dopamine, that runner's high started coming in, or that accomplishment of, I just because I remember, I told you very clearly, I did 7 miles and 12 miles. I remember that. And I remember the accomplishment of doing 15 and the accomplishment of doing 20. And so I started building and seeing myself as someone that does finish things, right? The story started changing, and I started rewriting that story of no, I can do hard things. After a ride that I would do that was hard as I don't know what, be bitch, you just did that. You did that. Hills, you saw that hill like this, and you did that hill. Yeah, it took you a while, but you did it. And so that's when I learned the value of celebrating every step, because that's what helps rewire you.
So you lost 100 pounds. Because I'm doing the math here.
It was 90. I think it was about 90. So, but I said, I stopped weighing myself at 230, at 220. So I counted from 220. I don't know what I got up to. I would imagine I weighed about 230. So I lost about 100 pounds, but I say, yeah.
Oh my goodness. And I love the parallel, as you were unloading all of the beliefs that weren't true and didn't serve you, you were offloading the weight, you were putting on the beliefs that truly serve you, I can do hard things, and probably putting on muscle and strength, and you were getting the dopamine back.
Yes. And I was getting my anesthesia from something else. It was a different form. Instead of anesthesia that was numbing me, it was dopamine that was encouraging me, right? Go do more. And I just started feeling really good about myself. And so I can see how the church, looking from the outside in, it's oh, she lost 100 pounds. And then she go asking, and look at her, she going out every week. So I could see it.
It looks bad.
Right. So that's why I'm that's where my concept of course they going to talk. If you see it from their point of view, let them, right? It was let them. And I think somewhere in between all of that, or close to it, I think Jasmine Sullivan came up with a song, Blame It On Me, Say It's My Fault. That was my song. Blame it on me, say it's my fault. I was willing for everybody just to blame it on me, say it's my fault. Let them say whatever they want to say. Yeah. Let them have their story. I know my story.
Yeah. Yeah. And the energy, because I've been that person who wanted to make sure everybody knew that I wasn't the bad person. And then I shifted to the person who realized that, I'm willing to not come up smelling like roses. It frees up so much energy when you're not trying to justify yourself to the whole world.
Right. Yeah. It was there was a period where it was really fragile. And I remember I started a marriage group Like I started it because like when you first get married, like all the couples who have been married together, they hang out all together and you get married, you can't hang out with the singles anymore. So it was like this void. And so I was like, I need a spot. So again, I'm still that person. I still create containers for like, right. So I created that marriage group and I remember them coming over to the house after I asked for a divorce and I wouldn't let them in. They knew I was there. I was like, there's some points where you know what you can and can't take. And it wasn't about like, it was self-protective, but it was self-love. I was too fragile to hear them try to tell me, you know, God, such and like, because I knew I was doing what was best for me. Yeah. And I knew listening to them wasn't going to do anything but put me back in confusion. So sometimes when we're making hard decisions like that, it's good to like set a boundary for your own protection, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I love it because it removes the expectation, because when we don't do that, we're putting an expectation on other people to understand something that's so deep down inside of us that it's impossible for them to understand.
Yeah.
And it's kind of unfair to expect them to understand it.
Yeah. Because I wasn't in no way, and even on this podcast, like I wasn't in no way going to, I never was the woman who was going to badmouth him. Like I didn't need to drag him under the rug and air all of our, like, this is what was really going on. I didn't need to do that. And I didn't want to have to say, look, this is how shit really is. Like, right? This is what's going on, because I didn't want to tarnish his image because he was going to stay in the church. I was like, I'm gone. Bye. See y'all. Peace out. Like, and it wasn't because of anything other than it was really like, what would love do? Like, I love you. And that's why I'm leaving. Yeah. Right.
Piece about that, where it's like, people are not entitled to the story. They really aren't. They think they are. And sometimes we think they are.
I thought, because these were my close friends, right? Like we shared everything. So I think they could have been entitled to the story. I just wasn't ready. There's being entitled and you knowing when you were ready. And I was in no way ready. They had enough in to like to be entitled. Like, yeah, I'll tell you this.
Like, at least tell us what's happening.
Right. Yeah. I think they have been in there, like, but I just wasn't ready. And there was only one in that group that actually reached out personally throughout the whole journey. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah,
that happens. How did that change your faith? Like, you know, from then till now?
I think I stopped being religious and started being so much more spiritual.
Yeah.
So much more spiritual. That's when I really do believe I really found God.
Yeah.
Like, that's when I really do believe I had a personal relationship with God. Not because I was doing all the stuff and saying all the elaborate prayers and showing my quiet time and everything, but I felt God's presence.
Yeah. And I think in those times, because you have to get your own answers.
Yeah.
You know, the answers you're getting are not like, this is not the answer to what's happening to me.
Yeah.
And you have to hear for yourself exactly what to do.
Yeah. And so my relationship with God changed tremendously. God stopped being this vindictive, out to get me and only going to recognize me when I do good for multiple days in a row kind of God. Like, I became one that loved me no matter what. And because of that, I began to give myself love no matter what.
Oh, so good. Yeah. You know what's funny about that? The way you say that, it's almost like the whole journey of faith is to get there.
Right? Yeah.
Like sometimes I like songs when you listen to Christian songs or you're reading like books and like the Bible, and you're like, the whole idea is love, right? But then how come like we're in it and then you're not feeling
it's punishment. It's punishment.
Right? or just this like not even when you're not in that, like numbness or like dryness. Like I remember a period where it was like, okay, Sunday, you go to Sunday and you download. And then that download gets you all the way to Wednesday. By Wednesday, you're dry. Yeah. It's like you got to get back on Wednesday night. And it was just this cycle. But then like when you have that personal relationship and you go through things, it's almost like, oh, I'm just like coasting in this relationship with God where it's like, it's not the ups and downs anymore. Yeah. So good. Wow. So tell me how, like, after that, you went to anesthesia school.
That's a whole nother story.
That's a whole other podcast.
Story. Even just getting in, because again, I was the person who stopped and started. Like my ex was absolutely right. My track record. So my transcript had like 7 Fs. 7 Fs on it. I think my GPA was like a 2.9 or 2.8 because I would do real well on my science stuff. And then all of a sudden I'll just stop the whole, and I'll have a whole semester full of Fs, like 7 Fs or something. And I'm like, okay, I'll go in like whatever. So it was if you looked at me on paper, it was very inconsistent. And I know they were like, which one to believe. And anesthesia school is like very hard. They got like 1,000 to 2,000, 1,500, some odd. I know it's over 1,000 applicants for 100 spots.
Wow.
So it was very competitive for me to get in. And I was at work and people were like, oh, you have Fs on your transcript. Oh, you're not going to get in. Like everybody was telling me I'm not going to get in. My mother was saying, you're not going to do, like, you should have stayed married. Like such as like, don't do it. Like it's going to be hard. And kicker, I was going to have to quit my job. So how was I going to take care of these 3 kids with the very minimum of child support and go to anesthesia school? And I didn't have a clue. Like I didn't know how. I didn't have a roadmap. I didn't have anything. Only thing I kept saying is God would not give me the desire without giving me the resources. I would just like, my God is just not that cruel. He wouldn't give me this burning desire to do this without showing me the way. I mean, that was how I did it. Like literally, I'm like, they would be like, how you going to pay for it? I don't know. Like, you going to quit your job? Sure am. Well, how you going to pay? I don't know. But I did know all 100 people who went weren't independently wealthy. So I was like, there must be a way.
Yeah.
So it was like, that was my version of Peter. Like, get out the boat.
Yeah.
No matter what, everybody is telling you, this is crazy. My ex was like, you ain't gonna never make it. He literally said, you ain't gonna make it. You don't even like getting up at 5:30 and you're gonna try to do anesthesia. Not gonna make it.
Yeah. You know, I love that you had that, because a lot of women who come off the podcast who book consults with me, they say there's usually, often, not always, a reference to something the ex has said.
Right.
That's still just so embedded in their thinking and they can't shake it. Like, you'll never find anyone to marry you. You'll never make it. You won't make it without me. Things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. But yeah.
Obviously you made it.
I made it. Obviously we did okay. Now, yeah, we did. I mean, we did great.
Yeah. And you became a nurse anesthetist.
Yeah, I know. I still can't say it. A nurse anesthesiologist. I put people. I did it for 18 years before I started coaching, and then a year ago, I quit, and now full-time coaching.
Yeah. I mean, that's insane. But I mean, like, you've just, that pivot by itself. Because a nurse anesthetist is like, I mean, you're nipping on the heels of the nurse practitioners, doctors. Like, it's that. My understanding is it's that. Level of education in the medical.
We do. Yeah, it's the same level as nurse practitioner. It's that same level, and we work independently. So I was like the only anesthesia provider in the hospital. Like, they call anesthesia, it's me. I'm sorry. There's nobody else. It's me.
And you did that, a woman of color, single mom, 3 kids.
You want to know how that interview went?
Right after a divorce.
That was a 7-person interview, that rapid fire, because they wanted to stress you out to see how you handled stress, because anesthesia is very stressful. That's why that literally is why I'm like, no, y'all, I'm an expert in stress. Like, I help Black women with stress because like everything I did, even the job that I went into was stressful. And so the interview was 7 people, and they purposefully like fired things at you. And they were like, we don't know. I don't know. And I was like, I think because I fought so much for myself, because I tried every other thing. That was why I think that was like the biggest blessing I ever had, is because I tried to be everything else. And I was convinced this is who I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does it mean to fight for yourself? You said you fought for yourself.
In that interview, that I could do it, because they were like, we don't know. Like, and then they would see the A's. And I was like, well, look, I made an A. And it's like, yeah, but that's not like, we're not convinced. They literally said, we're not convinced. And I said, they kept talking. And I said, do I have a rebuttal? And they said, yeah. And I was like, I have 3 kids. I did such and such. Like, I just finished a marathon. I went through that, like this. And yeah, my kids, like, they wanted me to wait till my kids got older. And I was like, no, my kids still go to bed at light because they're young. Like, they do. You want me to wait till they're teenagers? And they're like, and I got to argue with them. That's not the answer, right? Like, I just spoke with authority. And when I left, I heard them talking, and I heard one lady go, I like her.
Yeah. But I mean, I just love that, because it sounds like you just believed in yourself more than anybody.
Yeah. I had 2 people at that time that believed in me, because not even my mother supported me. Like, she was like, didn't no to the divorce, and for sure no to anesthesia school. Like, she was on the same bandwagon, like, you know how you are now. Like, your parents are like, you know how you are now. Like, you're gonna get in there, get all in, and then you're gonna, like, that's why I'm like, your past has absolutely nothing to do with what you can do in the future. Don't tell me about what you've done. I don't care about what any of my clients have done. Tell me what we're gonna do. Right.
Yeah. And it sounds like, and often when we are waiting sometimes for someone else to believe in us and tell us that we're going to do it. It's like, I've had sometimes calls with women, and they're like, all right, convince me that I can meet someone.
Yes.
I'm like, no, the work, I know you can meet someone. Like, the work is for you to believe that you can meet someone.
Yeah.
Like, I can convince you, I can show you all the steps in the program, I can show you all the people. If you don't believe that you can, and I think that's where fighting, like when you talk about fighting for yourself, was you believed. You were like, I don't even see it, but I believe in who I am.
Don't know how I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And the first test, I'll say this about anesthesia school, like the first test was like the test. It was like, everybody knew it was like the hardest test. And most people, like out of 100 people, most people flunk it. And I think he had 3 A's. And he was like, I knew it, like, did y'all? And he was giving people the pep talk, like, it's okay, keep on, like, keep going. This is a difficult one, da, 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 da. And he called, and people came down. And I remember when he called my name and I went down, and I remember how he looked at me, because I was one of the 3 that made an A. And I remember how he looked at me with like, oh, and I was like,
yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I'm that chick. Because one of the ones in that meeting, like, they were like, we don't know about her. And let's just be true. Like, they didn't see many Black females, and they for sure didn't see a Black female that had 3 single kids under the age of 4. Right. Like, they was like, how in the hell she was going to do that? I was like, y'all don't know about Black women. Let me tell you.
Right.
Show you, if I can show you better than I can tell you was a picture, that would be me that was 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. And so you did that for 18 years, and then you pivoted. And I know we don't have a ton of time, but why? Like, why leave? I mean, that just sounds like a juicy career.
Yeah, it was. So fun, so juicy. I was meant to do anesthesia, like literally. I worked labor and delivery. I only worked 2 days a week, 24-hour shifts. I would work like a Monday and a Thursday and be off and not have to come back to the following like Wednesday. I had like a 7-day period off, like once a month. Yeah. Perfect. My job was 10 minutes away. I loved working with mamas, Black women, like taking care of them. Like, it's okay, helping them, like keeping them calm, all of it. Like if I had the mama who was scared of epidural and like, oh my God, I'm so afraid. I'm like, it's okay. Like, I wouldn't be that anesthesia provider. It's like, shut up, sit down. Like, no, like, it's okay, baby. I know you're scared. Like, I was very proficient in dealing with people in stressful situations and dealing with myself in stressful situations when I got to show up for the mama because it's like stat and she's hemorrhaging and we got to go to the OR and whatever. So I think there comes a time for me where I loved my job, but I wasn't growing. And in order for me to grow, another change was going to happen. And I didn't want to like go into management. Nope. Because I wouldn't want to manage me. So I was like, nope, I don't want to do management because when I want day off and everything, I can be a holy terror. So I was like, no, I don't want to do manage because I wouldn't want to manage me. So, and it was like, I knew I was 50. I was like, I got another 20 years of this. So the way it started though, wasn't I'm going to replace my anesthesia career. The way it started was I'm just going to do this part-time on my days off because obviously I only work 2 days. So it's like, this will be fun instead of me doing anesthesia part-time because nurses, we always got 2 and 3 jobs we work. I was like, I'll just do this part-time and it'll be fun. And that's how it started. And the impact that I was making on myself and my clients just grew. And eventually I was like, oh, these people are actually making money. And then eventually I was like, because I was like, I do anesthesia. Like I was like, y'all coaches, I do anesthesia. Y'all like,
there's good reason to feel that way. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Y'all cute coaches, but I do anesthesia. Right. And that identity started changing. And then it's like, now I'm like, when I introduce myself, I'm just a coach. I'm like, oh yeah, I used to do I'm like, yeah, no.
Yeah. So your bio said you help, Black women become unfuckwithable. What is that? What is that result? Like when we go through your container and pop out on the other side, what's the difference?
The difference is life still lives, right? Like life still lives. That's it. But it's when they tell you no in the interview, you fight back. It's your spouse says you're not going to make it. You fight back. When your mother says, girl, don't do it. You're like, yes. When you don't have a clue as to how you're going to make it work, you say yes to you. Nothing got stuck with you.
Yes.
It doesn't mean you don't feel the pain, the disappointment. It just means that it doesn't stop us. So another way you can say is unstoppable.
I love that.
Like,
yeah, Sia, one of my divorce playlists, Sia has a song called Unstoppable.
Yeah.
So it's one of my divorce songs, along with and several others.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Brig, this has been just such an amazing, amazing conversation. Your story is so inspiring. I can't wait to get this out to the world. You are a life coach. Could you tell the listeners kind of like, what does your work look like? What programs do you have available? And then we'll talk about where they can find you.
Yeah, you can work with me 2 ways. I do have someone very limited one-on-one. I don't think I have any openings right now, but there's a wait list for it. And then I have a container, Deeply Rooted. I call it the training ground it's emotional and mental training for the high achieving Black woman that is struggling to thrive, not survive. A lot of us survive. Like we got past the surviving. Now it's time to thrive. And we can't figure out why we can't make those decisions, why we're still people pleasing, why we're having angst when we get the email or the boss calls or the coworkers, like why we're not showing up for our goals or like not really putting ourselves out there. It's like, I help with that. And I say like, so that we can get our inner game trained to the Olympic level, because we got our outer game trained to the Olympic level.
Yes.
To get our inner game trained.
Yeah.
And so many of us concentrate on like all of the strategies and everything, but our inner game isn't at the level. And so we got to get our inner game at the level of where our outer game is.
Yeah. And you have a podcast where you talk about this.
Thank you for reminding me. I have a podcast. It's called Breakthrough with Brigg, and it's on all of the
platforms. Yeah, we're going to link up to that. And actually, the reason it came back to my mind is as you were talking, I remembered some of the episodes that I'd listened to. One of them was on creating self-trust, creating our own safety. Like, you have some really incredible episodes that you've put on there.
Yes. Yeah. And it's specific to all people and all women, everybody, because I have white men. It's like, well, I can use this too. Like, you sure can. But I tell it from as Black women, our historical and cultural things, because there's some things that I think we need to understand about ourselves and the conditioning and why some things are just more difficult. Like people pleasing is a thing, but for us, it's like a thing.
Because there's safety.
Yes, because of the safety.
Historically, there were safety implications that were there. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. And if people want to work with you, or they want to follow you or DM you, invite you on their podcast.
Yes, all of it.
They find you.
I'm looking forward to doing a podcast tour. This is the first time I've told my VA, I was like, I think it's time to start getting on podcasts. And she was like, really? And then of course you reached out. So I was like, oh, girl, I'm a good manifester.
Yeah.
So you can follow me on Instagram at Johnson Brigg. That's the main thing. I do have a Facebook page, Brig Johnson. And if you want to know anything about my group, then you can go to brigjohnson.com/group and get on a wait list, Deeply Rooted. I think it opens, it opens at the end of June 24th. I don't know when this will be aired, but it'll either be before or after, but it'll open up again.
Awesome. And all of those links will be in the show notes. So the podcast, the group, the website, the social media links. Listeners, I just highly encourage you to connect with Brigg online, follow her work, definitely listen to her podcast, because there have just been some really incredible insights that she's dropped. Whether you're a woman of color or not, you will take something away. And Brigg, I want to thank you for being here and sharing so vulnerably, sharing your story. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was helpful for me to re-say it. I was like, yeah, that is how I did that. Oh yeah, that's where that came from. Yep.
Yeah. All right, everyone. We want to thank you for your time and attention, and we will see you next time. Thanks for listening today. If you are ready to get married after divorce, I want to invite you to download my free 8-video training specifically designed to help divorced women date with ease and get married again. Head over to sadecurry.com to get started. That's SADECURRY.com. I'll see you inside.